Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Well, you know, in the past few days, we've been looking at, exploring alternative sources of revenue, that is apart from oil, and we've been hearing all sorts of ideas and all sorts of interesting reasons why it might be a challenge. Now, one of the main ones, as you also have heard and probably think as well, people say that if you can fix power, then just watch all the other things fix themselves. But without power, it just might be more of a challenge than we need it to be. But as you know, power on the one hand, electricity, and then fuel on the other, even though what we're talking about is looking for alternatives to fuel oil revenue. But I have guests here and we'll explore the subject. As always, we can't do anything without you. Your contribution from home is going to be invaluable. Mr. Ademola Oshodi. Mr. Oshodi is a policy analyst. Thank you very much for coming on, Ademola.
Thank you.
And Honorable Rotimi Olowo of the Lagos State House of Assembly. He's chair, House Committee on Works and Infrastructure. Thank you very much for coming, Honorable.
Good morning.
Good morning. Ademola, you've been this conversation, you started it even before you came here, because I'm referring to some article I read that you had an input into, in the sense that they talked to you about that article. And you were making the point that I think you can sort of explain here, that why don't we have these refineries? We've heard that nobody can build a refinery. I'm worried about that, but we've heard that. But what is the problem, do you think, with actually having our own refinery? The Chinese were to help us. So what's going on from your perspective?
Well, I think it's a lot of bottlenecks. A lot of it starts with, I would say, the PIB, the non-passage of the petroleum industry bill. That's key. Once you don't have that, the investors, foreign international investors, or foreign direct investors, I should say, will hesitate. They want to know exactly what's the bill, what's in it for them. They don't want any surprises, and they want to have that, be able to forecast where they will put their money and how they'll get their money out, etc. And I would say also a lot of it depends on the government policy. It's the policy of subsidy. If government is subsidizing the industry, the petroleum industry, especially with the PMS and other kerosene and things like that, the investors want to know exactly what's going to happen. If some level of people have been subsidized and they're coming in with their own money, are you also going to subsidize them also? So it's also a mixture of foreign and domestic issues at play.
Even though I'm sure you've also heard there are those, quite more than a few, who are saying that this whole business of subsidy, hang on, there's nothing like subsidy. People talk like that. That when you come to analyze it, there's no real subsidy. But that's not an argument we're going to get in today. I was looking at Facebook earlier, and I just saw one entry there. A gentleman had said that he left his house at 5:30 a.m. or something like that, because he wanted to go look for fuel, hit the road, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. There was, petrol stations were open, but fuel was being sold at the pump at 150 per liter, as opposed to 87. So he said no, he was holding his ground, and he still went along some more. And the farther he went, it wasn't getting any better. He said he was now forced to come back and then go to that very 150 that he had initially said, no, this is profiteering, I'm not going to buy that. He has now had to go back there. It's underlining the problem we have. First of all, it was 97, I think.
87.
No, before.
87, then because of the scarcity, it moved to...
No. President Jonathan, surprisingly,
yes, from 97 to 87.
Brought it from 97 to 87,
yes.
And even now, people, if they can pay 150, might just get it. Not that there won't be any queue. So this is, how do you see this whole business of the refinery problem a challenge? As Ademola has said, there are a number of, some of them are low, like the PIB, that is another. We have spoken about not having the will to do the right thing in the past. Do you think that is going to change?
If you look at the petroleum industry, we have a lot of issues. Apart from the PIB, we look at the mechanism of demand and supply. I look at what is the current rate in the international market as predicated by Platts. That's the platform upon which they determine the price of crude in the international market. My take is that the whole subsidy we are talking about is a scam.
That's what some people are saying,
The
but they need to prove it.
Yes, if the price of crude is going down in the international market, obviously. But again, you look at the other side of it, the devaluation of the naira.
That's
it attracts that. But by and large, the permanent solution would have been, we have 4 refineries in Nigeria today, 2 in Port Harcourt, 1 in Warri, 1 in Kaduna. And the oldest refinery in the world today is in India and is working effectively. So the turnaround maintenance is more of a conduit pipe to siphon and steal from government. If you know that Rolls-Royce actually built a refinery.
Even though there's no proof for that, but this is what people are saying.
Over time, we are talking about turnaround maintenance almost year in, year out. And the refineries cannot even do 30% of installed capacity. So what are we turning around? My take is, if we know those that did the refinery, I'm talking about the company that actually installed the refineries, call them back. They have the spares, and you can go into a partnership with them, or you give them a sort of a contract to turn back the refinery in terms of a provision of spare parts and maintenance. There should be an agreement, and obviously they will do, because they have the spare parts. But today, Toyota did the refinery and you are giving it to Rolls-Royce. Where will the spare parts? If the Indian refinery could still be working today effectively, and it's adjusted to be the oldest and still working very well, 4 refineries can meet our local consumption. Consumption of PMS today, which is premium motor spirits, is not more than 40 million liters a day. And we have 4 refineries. When you look at AGO, when you look at the byproducts as well, GTA1, you look at the HFPO, LPFO, the demand, the requirement of the Nigerians cannot be met because those refineries are comatose. Those refineries are not meant to work. So let them resolve by first coming in, because that's my take. Because when you are talking about alternative to revenue through all, we first need to look at what are our needs. Because it is not that Nigeria is a monolithic economy per se. But when you look at other issues that happen, when you sell crude at a lower rate and you are buying bulk of it, more of it, at a higher rate, how will you have,
sum is not going to work
how
out.
will you be able to have enough foreign reserve to back your money,
Indeed.
to back the naira?
Okay, Ademola, what Rotimi is saying by and large is that we're in the situation we are now in the oil sector, especially refining, because of scammings. But the panacea that he's recommending, it's so logical, it cannot but have occurred to people. So what then is the issue? Is it just this whole matter of scamming that people just, quite frankly, are considering their self-interest more than the general good? Can it be as straightforward as that? Because that seems hard to digest.
Well, I don't think it is a very corrupt and opaque system, but it's not just that. If those 4 refineries were working for full capacity, we will still not have enough for the consumption in Nigeria. It's undoubted. Studies have been done. It's clear
that even if they were at full capacity,
they
would barely cover our needs.
Yes, our needs about 750,000 liters every year. The refineries do about 450. So we need to basically either import refined products, or we need to have our own refinery to make up for that difference. So,
okay, can I just interrupt you? I beg your pardon for doing so. I've got to go to a commercial break, but I'll be right back. Stay with us, please. Okay, sorry, Ademola, I had to interrupt you.
Yes, what I was saying is that the refineries, the Nigerian refineries we have right now, the 4, even if they're working to full capacity, will not be enough to satisfy our consumption need in Nigeria. So we either need to import, or we need to basically have more refineries to help us with our consumption. The Nigerian economy is growing rapidly. It's the largest in Africa. The population is also booming. So, you know, as the economy grows, people want to have, you know, more things. Businesses are growing.
Yes, so
there's more need.
So what's the solution then? If you're saying that the four that we have, even if they were at full capacity, would hardly do.
Yes.
So what's the solution?
Well, the solution is
provide some more.
Yes, no. The solution is to enable an environment for investors to come in and invest. If it's the Chinese, if it's Dangote, of refinery that is taking place is being created rapidly in Ondo State there. Things like that with what would alleviate our problem. You understand? More refineries with less importation.
Do you have an idea, Ademola, I beg your pardon for interrupting you, of how much a refinery costs? Just let's go about it simplistically.
It's quite difficult to determine that. There's so many things in place. I mean, the infrastructure. We are building a refinery in somewhere in Kogi State. You don't have the roads. You don't have the necessary, place.
So it's not easy to say, look, you need 25 billion US.
Yes.
It's not easy to say it's 14 billion US.
No.
You're saying that there are other factors.
Yes, there's a lot of factors.
You have to do feasibility. You have to look at even the terrain.
Absolutely.
The topography and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Because a refinery in Lagos will not necessarily be the same price, the cost in Parako, because a lot of factors are going to play.
Yes.
Like rightly said, you look at infrastructure, you look at, if the terrain is bad, you know, you can't just have that.
How are you going to get your raw materials in? How are you going to get the products out? The shipping, the piping. You know,
so you see, this is where trust is necessary again. Now that you've explained that there are these variables there, and the people, the citizenry, is already suspicious of governments in the past, that you can't trust them. Now, since you can use this kind of logic to say that, look, if in case you looked at any internet search and you've seen that it costs 22 billion to build, no, this one is going to cost us 57 billion. We
don't even want the government to do it. No, definitely not the government. The government has failed. The government should not even be involved in things like this. If you know, it should be done private. Private organizations to invest in, they will make their money. They will, you know, charge what they need to charge. Competition obviously will help them bring the prices down. But you don't want government building refineries. We've done that in Nigeria. Around the world, many times, governments don't get involved. It's the market. Let the market determine the needs and supply. You understand?
So why haven't we gone
there? Again, they're an enabling environment. The PIB is not passed.
It's not so much that we haven't gone there. It's that the environment is not enticing
and it's not clear
to investors.
The waters are still murky. It's not clear who's going to go and bring their money in when there's a very important legislation coming up, the PIB, that has not been passed for about 5 years.
And they've been foot dragging on this.
You understand? Even the Chinese government will say, look, NNPC is doing 20% of this greenfield refinery. But, you know, they all know that NNPC will say something today and tomorrow the GMD will change.
And when we talk about the Chinese, it's the Chinese state petroleum or something. It's a state company.
Well, it's supposed to be private, but the government has a lot of input there, a lot of subsidy involved in the company. But, you know, there's a big dispute whether it's really truly government or it's private. But you know, we look at it closely. It is probably government money, Chinese government money.
Well, so the kind of way you've taken it this morning is what really made us then say, look, okay, so this is not going to happen anytime soon. People can't just expect it overnight. It's going to take some time till we sort out all the issues we have summarized now. So what do we do in the meantime? A contributor was opining that as far as he's concerned, there's no money for the incoming administration to spend in a real sense. So we're going to have to find out, and states can't pay salaries. So what is it that they can do from the realm of thinking outside of the box? What is it that you think?
Thank you, Mr. Yori. You know, this topic is very, very relevant. It's topical, and it meets the requirements of Nigerians. But I would say that I think it's going to be in series, because before you can talk about alternative to oil revenue, there must be some prerequisites to facilitate the achievement of that goal. You need to first talk about the need for us to unbundle the MDAs, government, ministry, and departments and agencies, because number one, multiplication of duties, and again, like you rightly said, what is the business of government in business? I say NNPC to be more of a holding company for the nation, where you have partnership with other companies. All you need to do is that you just go after the interest of government and ensure that all the interest and money accrued to government actually get into the consolidated fund. But today, when NNPC moves, what NNPC does, we don't know. How much NNPC makes, we don't know. How much is supposed to come to the covers of government, we don't know. And that is one of the problems we have.
And why is that? Why is it such a quote-unquote state secret? Why aren't these things transparent?
The act that brought it into life actually spoils it so that so nobody can take NNPC off that. We have to look at the act that brought it into being, and we need to unbundle it as well.
Well, fortunately, General Buhari, you know, I don't know, President Buhari shortly, he has experience in that era. NNPC is not a stranger to NNPC. He's not a stranger to the oil sector. Does this give you some optimism that it's not going to be business as usual?
Obviously, yes, because when you look at what is happening today and when you can retrospect into the past, what transpired, we appreciate the fact that I think there's an abuse of office and like a lot of waters have gone under the bridge. I know he has the acumen. He's been there, and I know we have a team of experts as well that we are actually advising. That's one of the problems we are having. And again, you need to talk about human capital development. Today, our children are leaving school. The rate of unemployment is on the increase. You look at, okay, what's the essence of NYSC, like I said the other time? Why can't we use NYSC to retrain these children in such a manner that you have acquired skill in vocations that have relevance to the socio-economic realities of Nigeria? We are still looking for carpenters in Nigeria. We are looking for tilers. And many of our children will just come out with a BSc in Yoruba, BSc in linguistics, and you think they'll be useful to our need as we're still developing. We need more housing. We need more infrastructure. Then again, in addition to that, there's a need for us to have infrastructural investment because we need to invest in infrastructure. What is happening to PENCOM? Pension fund, what is happening to it? That is a cheap fund that we could have used to invest in infrastructure. Because without infrastructure, there's no way you can ask for direct foreign investment. Nobody will take it seriously. When you do that, you have access to cheap loan at a longer gestation period so that you could be able to pay. I left oil industry about 8 years ago. I still have my money there that I was contributing when I left the company. The money is still there. I have no access to the money, and I will never have access to the money until I'm 50. And the interest rate accrued to me is just 4%. So if at 10%, it's still very cheap, and the gestation period is so long that government can make use of that. But unfortunately, you left it in the hands of private people that are not serious about the management of that fund. That's one of the problems. I think before you can talk about diversification, yes, diversification is good because a monolithic economy will be vulnerable to external manipulation.
Which it has happened to us.
If you look at Dubai today, Dubai in 1976 was not as beautiful as Lagos. But despite the fact that Dubai is a desert, they did a lot of simulation, infrastructural renewal and building. And today, Dubai is a beauty to behold.
And a lot of thinking outside the box.
Yes.
You know, because by the time they came up with some things, it was a wow. We didn't know this could happen.
And sponsored by the indigenous. I use the word not indigenous, not even residents. You cannot do any business in Dubai without having a citizen of Dubai sponsoring it. It must be part of it. And through that, there's distribution of wealth.
This even reminds me, Ademola, accountants and bankers say that, look, people have to be able to save. People have to save. Now, most Nigerians will tell you that, of course we know that. Any old moron knows that, but it's difficult. It's almost impossible. People can hardly, their take-home pay doesn't take them home. Yep. So that's also part of the problem. I understand savings. Yes, it is. It's an anomaly in Nigeria that whereas people, decent, honest people, can't save as much as they should. When you go by all the classical divisions, you should be able to save such a percentage of a salary every month. You have that to one side, but the people are hungry. Does that factor into this as well? That a society that cannot save, that it is having to eat everything, so to speak. How are we going to go forward?
That is very true.
Never mind that if they say this house is $200 million US today, there are Nigerians that will not bat an eyelid and say, give me two, please. That's the incongruity we have.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is, you know, some people still argue the fact that Nigerians do save. I mean, the average Nigerian wants to buy a house, so he wants to build a house. They will go and build it in somewhere in their village, or they would build it in some really far-off place, where they'll build it. I know drivers, I know messengers that are building houses. So that itself is a form of savings. It's a form of saving. Yes. But
against
apart from
all odds.
Yeah, the culture, the government itself does not champion that cause. we are spending so much on current expenditure. We're spending so much on recurrent expenses, salaries, for the things that overhead costs for the National Assembly. For my colleague here,
no, he's of the State Assembly.
State Assembly.
And I don't think they chop as much as. He's even denying chopping at all.
Not chopping. Okay, I exempt them.
But is the national? Is that
yes?
That whole attitude of dividing up the national cake?
We are spending so much on this recurrent expenditures. We are also spending a lot on subsidy. So we are spending, and we are left with a small percentage for infrastructural work, for education, for health, things that will make us in Dubai in the next few decades.
So it's sounding like if we're going to come out of this vortex,
it's
going to have to be a paradigm shift.
When the gap between the rich and the poor is so great, there are some, we call them rent seekers, and some are real salary earners. For salary earners, they will not be able to save. Like rightly said, some of these salaries cannot take them home. Then again, you look at rate of inflation and rate of interest accrued to that savings. If you look at the time value of money and the opportunity cost as well. If I'm saving 10 naira today and the interest accrued to me is just 10% and the inflation rate is 15%, the next 1 year I will not get 10 naira. I'm going to get probably about 9 naira, 8 naira. Then what's the essence of saving? So for the real salary earners, they cannot save because the valuation of the naira, inflation rate will not allow them to save because the time value of the money would have been eroded. The intrinsic value of the money would have gone down. But when you look at rent seekers, who makes money where they do not actually work, if they have 100 million today, they can afford to use that to buy houses because they have not earned it, and tomorrow is not here. They live by the day, and also they don't have any real tangible source of income. There's that they come in between buyers and sellers, and they're able to take some rents, and that's the reason why you look at the difference between those who cannot really save. They cannot save because of our peculiarity, because the value of our money is on the decrease, because of inflation rate. But for the rent seekers, they will continue to make money and make the system. The lacuna, they were able to buy into the lacuna, make as much as possible. And since they didn't work for it, they can use it, spend it anyhow.
And linked to this, perhaps, Ademola, is the fact that people have a problem accessing funds in Nigeria. You can't borrow in Nigeria. I hear it's suicidal. Things like mortgages and these things don't work out here. It becomes cutthroat. In the light of all of this, some have said that, fine, while we're sorting all of that out, the other big porous source is the taxation net, that we need to, we've heard some people say that you need to take care of that the potential there. Some people even believe that we're probably not realizing much more than maybe 20–25%, if even that, of what is possible. How say you to that particular charge?
This is on savings or?
No, I'm talking about taxation now.
Taxation, yes.
As a source of revenue for government.
Oh, of course, we've basically been milking the old proverbial cow with oil.
And so we've not really worried about.
We've just started. I think Lagos State government has really championed that. Lagos State government has been at the forefront of of internally generated revenue, I think even more than the federal government. Federal government is just playing catch up, not to talk of other states in the country. So yes, taxation is still a very, very a new phase in revenue generation in Nigeria. And this new fall in oil prices, going back to the energy issue here, fall in oil prices and the fall and the revenues that the state governments are getting now, which is far less than 50% from the Minister of Finance, is going to make them look inwards. They will look inwards and they will try and generate revenue through taxes.
Because we don't have a choice anymore.
They don't have a choice.
If it is true that we are broke, which people are saying that, quite frankly, we are broke.
There's no choice. You have to, even if you're not broke, you want to make more money. Lagos State is making a lot of money from taxes. Ogun State too has taken a big stride in that, and other states also. So if you can champion that would really help the states. And I would say this, that when you look at the fact that you're generating revenue, you're opening up the economy. People are basically realizing the fact that, okay, oh, you pay taxes, they fix your road is fixed, electricity, in some regards.
If indeed those things do happen,
Yes,
which is another reason, because there's a crisis of confidence between the taxed and
but I think
the
you've seen
people
that
taxing.
in some regards in Lagos State, you know, with tax generation and infrastructure development, security, and so many other benefits the people of Lagos State are receiving.
Right.
And I think same thing is going on in other states that are beginning to generate tax.
Okay, Shola, thank you for holding on. Shola from IPAJA, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling.
Good morning, sir. The gentleman on the studio this morning. You see, we are beginning to see that all theories propounded by either economists, socialists, and developing nations has failed in our own state. We are beginning to be confused of what is really wrong with Nigeria. Yesterday, let the subsidy be. Today, remove the subsidy, like we don't even know what. The other time, give them licenses, allow a free market zone for refinery to be built. Licenses were given, nothing comfort. We don't know why. We make money in this oil industry even when we don't have our own refinery because God gave us in abundance. The revenue, the proceeds therein were shared. Some say it was not shared. The other person say call your commissioner to testify to it. All of internal crisis of no trust. Foreigners have seen some of these things. Who ought to be investors that we are advising to come in have seen the way we run our policies, not acceptable even to the citizenry. How do you want them to trust us? Now today, a group of persons is saying, pay us what you are paying us because of the problem we are having in the money market relating to the bank rate and the fluctuation, government not holding to trust. These are internal issues that even the incoming government are beginning to, I personally pity this singular person that we're trusting in person of Buhari, how he's going to manage this crisis with the logjam of the same group of individuals coming to the House of Senate, coming to the House of Rep, preaching Osana in the same way this group of people came before they are now passing away. And some of them executive officers coming into the legislative house who are also the businessmen causing friction in time past. So dangerous that they are even much richer than the present outgoing legislature. And I am beginning to see fear and a kind of separation between the masses. I don't like using that word so deliberately, calling Nigerian masses, but looking at difference between the masses and the people who think we are trusting in the international body who understand the language of business, who are lecturers in classes, who not even trust the government we are. What you talk of the ordinary Nigerian who is walking on the street.
Okay, Shola, thank you very much for calling in. Really appreciate your contribution. What Shola is saying is what you have also indicated. The way we are perceived by potential foreign investors is just not going to make... investors do one thing. They don't do one thing. They don't throw money into uncertainty. You know, even if they're going to take a risk, it must be a well-calculated one, complete with proof, working and all of that. But what you guys are saying and what Shola is saying out there is that the parameters are not there to even make an enlightened kind of...
let's look at it from this point of view. Part of the solution to our problem and part of the things we need to do if we need to generate money from other sectors apart from the petroleum industry has to do with devolution of power.
Okay.
Nigeria must be seen as being responsible fiscally. The character, core federal character, must come to play. All this while it has been cosmetic things.
Okay. Wait a minute. I beg your pardon, sir. Fiscal responsibility. Yes. Please hold that thought because I've got to go to Reverend Dominic. Okay. So I'll come straight back to you to continue developing. In fact, you can go on straight ahead. Now, fiscal responsibility first.
And devolution of power. Then we do not bring Nigeria together because Nigeria is an organic whole that one cannot survive without the rest. So Nigeria is supposed to come together and we have the so-called relationship among the states. Today, many states are lazy. Nigerians are lazy because of the discovery of oil. So we want to make all our means of livelihood without harnessing our Idado means of livelihood. Today,
all the other potential sources have atrophied.
Where's the pyramid of Kano? We are talking about pyramid of groundnut in Kano. Where is palm oil in the east? Where is cocoa from the west? Where is kola nut from the west? When you look at Malaysia today, the mainstay of Malaysian economy is the palm oil we are talking about, and they got it from Nigeria. Let's look at Kenya. Through tourism, we have potential for tourism. My take is this: Nigeria should not be divided along geopolitical line, but based on comparative economic advantage.
Okay.
Let every state go back and do the things it can do the best, achieve that can bring the best. For example, look at Osun State.
Okay, let me come back to you because I think Reverend Dominic is back on. I'll come back so you can land on that idea of exploring various comparative advantages. Good morning, Reverend Dominic.
Good morning, Yori. Long time.
Indeed. Thank you very much for calling in.
Yeah, Yori, straight to the point. A lot of people are expecting much from this government. If we don't minimize our expectations, we will throw them stone earlier than people expected. Look at what change means to me. The only thing I voted for this change is the end of impunity. It's the end of this insult. While we are hungry, we are the largest economy in the world. Where there is no job, we are the largest economy in the world. We want to stop this lie. I was a letter to Okonjo-Iweala. I beg her. I want to see her on the work for one day. There's one question I want to ask that woman. What kind of economist she is? That for over 10 years she's been in this government, she never think of building one refinery. She was paying subsidy upon subsidy every day. How could a nation survive by importing what they don't have? By an economic expert called Okonjo-Iweala. To me, sorry for this language, Okonjo-Iweala is the worst economist I've ever seen in my life. When we're in civil society solicitor, what we have campaigning is to see a minister who will have a short time and a long term planning. Not a minister who will come 1 year and go up the next year. But either by hook or by crook, we got to the Okonjo-Iweala. From the death of Obasanjo to Yar'Adua to Jonathan, this one has no economic plan for Nigeria. Only to pay subsidy. Now you have followed our faith. We can't pay civil servants. We can't still meet international obligations financially. Today, the chicken had come home to roast. I want Nigerians to have patience with Buhari, but Buhari must know that people who up the vote of PDP are the APC now. So I don't know how we manage it.
Okay.
Nigeria, bless you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dominic. Now, even though Reverend Dominic mentions the finance minister by name, government is a collective.
Responsibility, yeah?
It is a collective responsibility, but still, he is maybe querying why she didn't put this kind of thinking on the table and let it be junked. Let her be frustrated, but let us all know that that is what she was gunning for. But, he's saying that he didn't hear that. But I don't know how fair it is to single out an individual from a collective government. Any of you want to take a stab at that?
I think it was going on about Osun State.
You're talking about comparative advantage. It's just that, but this one, at least, is not addressing this. I wanted us to sort of address. But sorry, go ahead.
She's part of the government. Whatever it is, she has a boss. And the boss is supposed to be, there's something we call pecuniary. No, it's not even fiducial, what's it called? It's sort of penalty that if I'm your boss, whatever you do, I'll be accountable.
Yes.
So we should leave Okonjo-Iweala out of this.
Okay, sort
Mr.
of
President
vicarious
should be accountable and responsible for whoever worked with him must have done.
Yes.
So we should leave out. Yes, she's one of the ministers.
He's the president.
Yeah. He's the president. And
it's his policy.
He's the head of the team.
He's the head of the team.
Whatever happens, he must be blamed for that.
He sets the vision, he sets the direction.
Yes.
So,
in the meantime, Mr. Hassan has called in from LEKKI, I believe.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Hassan.
Good morning, Mr. Yori. Good morning, Honorable Olowo and Oshodi.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You see, let me correct one notion about an observation made by Mr. Oshodi. You see, the fuel in this country, you are saying, our refineries capacities are more than enough to satisfy the needs of Nigeria. let me make one very valid point to you. Most of the fuel you see people loading in Lagos are smuggled out of the country. And luckily enough, to us, common people in Nigeria, there was what we call divine intervention. Discovery of oil in our neighboring countries. And those neighboring countries are much more patriotic than us. They safeguard their mineral resources, and they make sure that people enjoy, and they will never allow your own petrol to go into their own place. That's number one. Number two, about Okonjo-Iweala. There is no way we can discuss the economic problem of Nigeria and take away two people, Babangida and Okonjo-Iweala. Why is this? Okonjo-Iweala is not representing your own interest and you. Okonjo-Iweala is representing the interests of IMF and World Bank. And he can go to any length to defend their interests. This is a minister that came on board here and on screen to tell us that we will end up borrowing money. We should not bother. We have money. That ADB made provision of money for us to run our government on credit. We should not bother. That means she's not prudent, she's not transparent, and she's not a good minister. She's not a good manager of economy. Let us be very, very frank with ourselves. And the way we are going, because the way we are going now is this, we end up putting Buhari into trouble. And all the bobby traps we are seeing is against Buhari's government. And we knew very well that Buhari is a transparent person, and he will perform wonderfully well. But all these bobby traps we are seeing, there is no way a government can be run with an empty treasury. There is no way a government can be run with somebody appointing people for you, appointing people that fail exams to come and sit on your own government. Good morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hassan. Interesting presentation from you there. But it was only yesterday, so to speak, that we were congratulating ourselves for getting an Okonjo-Iweala, such a fine world economist. She was even going to be she was even going to be the governor of the World Bank.
Yeah, the president of the World Bank.
The president of the World Bank. Yeah. That's how hot she's supposed to be. But now we're hearing that at the end of the day, according to Mr. Hassan,
let me quickly put this. The first response by Mr. Hassan, I reason with him. I don't want to believe my colleague here. If today, when you look at activities in the oil industry, he talked about smuggling. That's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is that Nigeria is moving as well. We have a lot of gas being bled. We don't bottle it. And when you look at our respective homes today, instead of using kerosene, we are using gas. And tomorrow, if we have IPP, just like we have 5 IPPs in Lagos, and if we replicate the same thing in many of the states or in Nigeria, if it's going to be a template, then the need for fuel, PMS, AGO will go down. If we embark on mass transportation because of the peculiarity of Lagos and some areas, just like we harness water transportation and maybe we harness rail transportation, the requirement for, because some of them now is electric, it's not even the use of gasoline again, our demand for oil would have gone down. So to me, the refineries we have in Nigeria today is more than enough in meeting our need as a nation, even to export. Then secondly, to his second question, my take is this. President Jonathan appointed Okonjo-Iweala. If he does not believe in the ideology of IMF, I think the man is at liberty to dismiss her. If he has not done that, then Mr. President is still responsible for acts. It's
because the buck stops on his table. Thank you very much for holding on. Femi from Itire, good morning.
Good morning. The alternative in everything, the wrong government tax. Then that in Nigeria, you can make a decision without paying 1 time of the tax.
I'm afraid, Femi, the line isn't good at all. It's not your fault, but the line isn't good. The way it's coming out here, we can't make out what you're saying. Could you please try and redial? Thank you very much.
Yes. Okonjo-Iweala, I think obviously I don't think you should put too much blame on her. The buck stops with the president. You know, he appointed her, you know, and she's performed really woeful. I think she looked as if she performed better during President Obasanjo's time. You know, but people will even debate that and say,
even though they fell out at the end of the day.
People will debate
Remember,
that.
she became the minister of towards the end of the Obasanjo.
I understand that. People will debate even then that she did well. People will say, oh, Soludo's policy or Obasanjo's drive. But regardless, this time, it's obvious that she did not perform up to par, and I don't think we should dwell too much on her. It's really the president. We didn't vote Okonjo in. We voted President Goodluck Jonathan in. You know, but again, regarding the refineries.
Yeah, before you continue on that, let me add whatever Fred's comments will be from Ojo, and then I'll come to you. Yep. Good morning, Fred.
Hello, Yori. Good morning, and good morning as guest. I am the voice of the voiceless. Okay. Meanwhile, the Okonjo-Iweala as a minister. You know, in the first time she came to Nigeria as a minister during the Obasanjo regime, she actually came with all interest to make Nigeria go better. And when she quit that ministerial position and went back to America, one of my social media friends from America once told me that when she got back to America, the Nigerians in America actually accused her, saying, why do you have to quit this position? Don't know that Nigerian money is a never finished money. That it will go back and grab back her own. So when she is given another opportunity, she actually came back. So maybe one word or other grab her own opportunity. But meanwhile, the person I am...
Really, Fred? Really, Fred?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. The person I'm feeling bad about is the Minister of Petroleum, whom we all know her track record. The track record of being a Minister of Works, when she got to the road, she cried that my Igbo people are dying. She left that position without doing anything on that road. She became Minister of Petroleum. She took Jerkan to the fuel station, saying that all women are sent to the forest to fetch firewood because there is no kerosene. Until date, kerosene is still the same. So all we are expecting Muhammad Buhari as Mr. President to make sure that she goes to jail. Oh. Now, on the other hand of it,
okay, thank you very much. Excuse me, please. I'm sorry, I've run out of time. But thank you very, very much, Fred, for your contribution. Controversial note on which you landed, but thank you very much for your contribution nevertheless. Now, gentlemen, it comes back to no money in the kitty. I mean, for a country, definitely there will be a few cents in there, relatively speaking. But the big concern is that somebody has said from home, how do you expect to run a government without funds? So the immediate question is going to be, what do we do?
I'll tell you what they should do. It's going to be very painful, but I see Buhari possibly doing it. Two things, or maybe three. The first thing is the oil subsidy. It's not sustainable. It's not managed well. Subsidy is good in itself.
So that might have
subsidy
to go.
is good, but I mean, even the Americans do subsidy. They subsidize their farmers, etc. But we're not doing it well in Nigeria, and it's a huge waste of money, and the people.
So that has to be tackled.
It has to be tackled.
Labor or no labor, that has to be tackled.
It has to be tackled. Second one is the Oresanya report. This is going to be very painful. Oresanya report states that so many federal parastatals are duplicating their work. It's just there. So they should merge them into one. So rather than having 300 and something or something parastatal, put it as 150. The third one is really the leakages. The leakages, corruption.
We're going to go back to corruption.
And,
in fact, that one that you put third, I don't know why it wasn't first. I understand you.
It's honestly, the biggest one is really biggest fault which can't control is international oil prices. If the oil money is less, it's not in our control. OPEC, Saudi Arabia, U.S. shale are making sure that oil prices are low. We're affecting our revenue.
Ethanol from Brazil.
Yeah, but what we can do is basically just close the gap, reduce corruption, review the civil service structure with all the parastatals, and then cut down on subsidy.
Okay.
And in addition to that, you structure the budget. Let more money go to capital and less to recurrent. It should be structured 70-30 in favor of capital expenditure.
As opposed to what we have now?
20 to capital, 80 to recurrent.
And that is not sustainable. Just like you are saying that the subsidy is not sustainable.
It deters progress.
It does.
It deters development, because when you don't invest in infrastructure, how do you expect direct foreign investment? Even within the economy, how do you expect expansion? Because you need to look at domestic GDP of the nation. Is it going up or coming down?
Although it might be a controversial point, but Obasanjo's statement that, look, he knows how much he left in the foreign reserve kitty, and as he alleged, along with Soludo differently, that all of this has been squandered away. So we can't continue in the same way if we are looking for a different result, right? Yeah. That's what you gentlemen are saying. Well, that's the way we're going to have to sort of, abbreviate it for now. I want to thank you. We've completely run out of time. A big challenge before the incoming government, but what does it do? Well, you've given some suggestions. Restructure the civil service, take care of the leakages, and the big one is the subsidy.
Very controversial.
Very, very controversial. And Labour is going to want to know that.
Allow the mechanism of demand and supply to stabilize and to dictate the price. That's what is done world over. Government should not privatize any business. Let government leave it, come up with regulation that will be able to guide and control, so that everybody will be within the ambit of the law. Then you now go, based on the infrastructure you have put in place, and tax them. That is the revenue you use in taking care of governance.
I'm sure, or at least I earnestly hope that all the think tanks that are working right now, these are the kind of things that they're thinking about, because we just have to do things differently. But thank you very, very much, Mr. Ademola Oshodi, policy analyst, and Honorable Rotimi Olowo, Chair, House Committee on Works and Infrastructure in the Lagos State House of Assembly. I didn't say that the first time, so people could think that it was national. But you have said that you people in Lagos have not seen anything to chop as much.
Consider we're working. And Lagos State is the only state. Even Lagos is close to Nigeria.
Okay. All right. Then thank you both gentlemen.
Thank you.
I'm Biyori Folani. Bye-bye for now.